Seconded.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Ilona Turner, and I'm a staff attorney at the National Center for Lesbian Rights in support of SB 54. First, to clarify what the bill does, SB 54 is needed to clarify the court's decisions in marriage cases in Strauss v. Horton so that couples who married in a jurisdiction outside of California prior to November 5th, 2008 will clearly understand that they will continue to be recognized as married in California. And it's also necessary to clarify, following the court's decision in Strauss v. Horton, that couples who married outside of California after the enactment of Prop 8 are entitled, and the California Constitution requires that they receive full equality under the law, including all the substantive rights and responsibilities of marriage other than the word marriage, which Proposition 8 reserves. This bill is of great practical importance for numerous same-sex couples in our state. Ever since Proposition 8 passed, we've been getting calls from couples all over California who are experiencing a great deal of anxiety and confusion about what their legal rights are. No family should be left with that kind of uncertainty about what legal protections their family is entitled to, trying to figure out whether they even have any legal rights in the state or if they're now considered legal strangers. SB 54 is a sound approach to clarify this confusing situation, which is squarely in line with and indeed mandated by the holdings of the California Supreme Court in the marriage cases and Strauss v. Horton. We've consulted with the leading family law scholars and experts in the state who all agree that this bill clarifies the rights of couples who married outside of the state in a way that's plainly required by existing California law and precedent. The discriminatory effect of Proposition 8, which took away the right to marry from same-sex couples, inflicts serious harm on LGBT families throughout the state. But the confusion over the rights accorded to marriages from outside the state is one of the harmful effects that the legislature can and should address right now. We strongly urge the committee to vote yes on SB 54 to provide this important clarification and peace of mind to same-sex couples and their families who married outside the state.
Thank you very much. Next witness in support.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Alex Ingersoll, and I'm appearing here with my husband, Martin Tannenbaum. I moved to California in 1979, and Martin moved here from Boston in 2005. We were married in Provincetown, Massachusetts on September 14th, 2008. When we met, we were in our 50s, and we each knew immediately that this was the man with whom I wanted to spend the rest of my life. We soon decided that we wanted to publicly declare our love for one another in the presence of friends and family. We wanted to get married. We wanted to have a Jewish wedding and also wanted a civil wedding, one that would be recognized and respected in the eyes of the law. In 2006, when we decided to marry, same-sex couples could not legally marry in California. Massachusetts was an obvious choice. Martin lived in Boston for 30 years. My forebears arrived there in 1629, and I still have family there. Like many couples, we wanted to marry in a place with deep personal meaning to us, our families, and our friends. A few months before our wedding, the California Supreme Court declared same-sex marriages legal in our great state. We thought about getting married in California instead of Massachusetts, but we'd already made extensive plans. To ensure that our marriage would also be recognized in California, we looked into getting a second marriage license in California, but the application itself made it clear that it would not be legal to get married in two states. Last September, 65 family members and friends joined us on Cape Cod for a weekend of celebration, culminating in our wedding. Our rabbi first performed a civil ceremony with all the vested authority of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Then our families walked us down the aisle, and under huppah,
if you could please conclude your testimony.
Okay. We returned to California with a strong belief that our state recognized us as a married couple. This was 2 months before the vote on Prop 8. We were deeply disappointed, but still believed we were still married. Hence we filed as a married couple.
Okay. Last sentence, please.
I just want to say, imagine if you were married in front of your closest friends and family, shared the joy with your neighbors, congregation, and co-workers, and then were suddenly told your marriage may not be considered valid. Imagine how that would feel. For this reason, we urge you to support this bill, assuring us and our families of the civil legitimacy of our marriage. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Other witnesses in support?
Alice Kessler with Equality California. We're the sponsor. Urge your I vote.
Next witness in support?
Mr. Chairman, members, Helene Meshar representing the City of West Hollywood, and I wanted to convey to you today that this item is on the City Council agenda for Monday to support it, but wanted to convey it to you today.
Thank you very much. Others in support?
Mr. Chairman and members, Francisco Lobaco on behalf of the American Civil Liberties Union in support, and I say I appreciate the consultant's very scholarly analysis of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erin DePay with Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California, also in support.
Thank you. Other witnesses in support? Are the witnesses here in opposition? Welcome, please. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Ben Lopez, representing Traditional Values Coalition. Clarification on the time. 2 minutes, or do I get the full 4?
No, 2 minutes.
That I try.
Good try,
Drew warned me about that in the hallway.
I'll start your time now.
Thank you. Like Mr. Leno said, he wanted you all to get a firsthand appeal of a person who's lived in these people's shoes. I'd like for you to put yourself in the shoes of millions of Californians who passed Prop 8 and over 7 million who passed 7 million who passed Prop 8 and millions who passed Prop 22 in the past. What this is a concerted effort yet again to somehow incrementally get gay marriage by any means possible and overturn Prop 8, 22, and now the court's ruling. And where will it stop? The court ruling upheld Prop 8. It did 3 things. It upheld the 18,000 gay marriages, it upheld Prop 8, and it upheld the current domestic partnership program. Didn't even touch it. All rights of marriage could be entered into through a domestic partnership program in the state of California. You know, the author made the argument when we were discussing Prop 22 that Prop 22 only applied to in-state marriages. It didn't affect those outside the state. Well, I think the roles now is being reversed because this is an attempt to stretch the court's ruling to somehow say that the court was not wise enough to give itself its own clarification. Therefore, the legislature in its infinite wisdom must clarify what the court said, and therefore we need this bill to say out-of-state marriages should be legal here too. Bear in mind, though, that at a time Prop 22 was in effect, certain states did have gay marriage, and if that were the case, they could still not be valid because of Prop 22 still being in effect before it was struck down. And the only time frame, if you will, in which marriages should technically be legal were from the time that the Supreme Court struck it down in May 2008 to the time Prop 8 passed. If those marriages happen in that time frame, I suppose if they move in, they're valid. But to say that any marriages under the sun, regardless of the time sunsets, if you will, or the time frames and the restrictions that we place, the voters place from 22 and any other ruling, should be thrown out the window is absurd. And for that, I request your no vote on the bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Other witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded. Do members of the committee wish to make comments or ask questions? Mr. Delatorre, and then Mr. Liu.
I appreciate the timing and the Prop 8 and not Prop 8 and the window and the closed window and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The bottom line is this. You have people who got married. They got married legally, and they live in the state of California. They got legally married somewhere else, but they live in the state of California. The whole point of our federalist system is that if you do something in one place, it counts everywhere else. And so you come to California, you're married, then we need to recognize it. Just like the court acknowledged the marriages that took place in that window in the state of California. That's the fundamental thing that we are dealing with here. We're not dealing about hypotheticals. We're not dealing about legal theories. We're dealing with people who actually got married, who have a marriage certificate, and who live in the state of California, period. And so that's why I'm supporting this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Delatorre. Mr.